Why don't you just call her supporter since she's going to be paying your bill soon?
Welcome to hour one of the last day of our 12 Days of Christmas Marathon. Drinking Fireball, of course. Where were you in 2007? 2007, I was a few years into my filmmaking career. I had already directed 2 short films. They were pretty bad. I didn't direct the very first short film. I wrote and produced the very first short film I ever made called Final Archive. Eventually, I'll put it on my channel somewhere, but I'm not ready for that kind of trauma yet. I'm not drunk enough. So in 2007, I was just kind of trying different things. I was experimenting. For instance, my second short film, the first film I ever directed, called Desdemona, which I'm going to be putting on here pretty soon, next couple of months, I'm sure. I got the idea. How about if we cast a movie and then shoot it in the same day? Because I'm fucking nuts. If you're wondering whether you should cast a movie and shoot it in the same day, don't. So, okay, thanks for coming. That's my film school. Don't do it. But as you've seen here on this channel, I'm a person my entire professional life. I like to experiment. I like to try new things. I like to try things other people aren't trying. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work. Case in point, from the very earliest inception of this reaction channel, I've had the idea of putting up a video where I'm reacting to somebody, but I don't tell you what it is, and you try to guess what it is. But I don't, there's got to be a prize, or there's got to be something cool, and so I haven't really gotten anywhere with that yet. But it's in my head. That kind of shit will stay in my head for years, and then eventually I'll whip it out. And people are like, wow, where does he come up with all these crazy ideas? They've actually been with me for a long time, been carrying them with me. And that's how I am. That's how I've always been. So in this particular case, the short film, it's a comedy film called Labels. I wanted to accomplish 2 things. One, just make a comedy film. And also, back then, post-production was really difficult. It took a long time, and I wanted to just have something really short. Short films can, my first short film, Final Archive, was 26 minutes long. But I want to have something short that I could just literally just finish the post-production on in a couple days. Because at that point, I've been in post-production hell with several different projects, and one of them hadn't even been finished yet. And I was like, I just want to fucking finish it. So that was one of the goals. The other goal is I wanted to do a one-take short film. And, even more insanely, I wanted to do a one-take short film with 10 actors. 2 rooms, 10 actors. And so, in other words, what happens is, you got a guy coming over here and he's saying this dialogue. Then he comes over here and he says this dialogue. Then he comes over here and he says this dialogue. And they have dialogue back to him. If anybody fucks up anywhere along this way, we got to do the whole thing again. And we end up doing 9 takes. And what's shown here is I think it's the 6th take. It's either the 5th or 6th take. And it's one of the only ones we got all the way through. And then we did it with what they call a safety. It's after we did this, well, let's get a couple more just in case something fucked up here we didn't notice, like somebody has their dick out in the background or whatever, you never know. One time when we were shooting, there was 2 dogs fucking in the background, and we did notice it. So you can't use that. Nowadays you can just CGI it out, but this was back in the day, So anyway, so I wanted to do something in one take, and that makes post-production easier as well, because you don't have any, editing. You either got it or you don't got it. The problem with the one-take scene is, audio. Fortunately, the light was okay. Lighting can also be an issue. Fortunately, the lighting, I think, worked out pretty well. Some of the takes that were ruined was his camera would automatically adjust to the light, because he starts out with his camera pointed to the door, which is bright outside. And then when he would follow the characters inside, the camera would adjust. It would fuck it up. We'd have to redo it. He eventually changed some settings on his camera. He was using a Panasonic... I forget what it's called. I used to have it memorized. But it was one of these old Panasonic digital video cameras, but they were on tape. Old fuckers. So light wasn't really an issue. We solved the light issue. But behind the cameraman, imagine I'm the cameraman, there's a person standing right behind him with the mic. So theoretically, wherever the camera's pointing, the mic is pointing, you should be able to get the audio. But think about the gymnastics that are required, because the actors, it's just 2 small rooms, by the way. Basically, it's like a movie theater, a small, one-screen movie theater, And on one side you have the concession stand. On the other side you have like an office where like the accountant is staying, and like a couple other things, like the accountant and whatever, and like the office manager or somebody. Two fairly small, and then you got the foyer, like the lobby area that's in between these two rooms. That's all we had to work with. So we've got the two characters who are moving around. So the camera's staying with those two characters. You've got the cameraman, and then you've got the sound man right fucking behind him. And I don't remember where the hell I was. I think I was outside. And then, like, when they would go into the office room, I think I would peek in, if I remember it. But it was. And by the way, my cameraman John Faust he's a very large man. He's very muscular, so it was an issue. That was a big issue. So I don't think it turned out great, per se. I do think it's funny, but I think the sound issues, not being able to capture really good sound, did cause a problem and made some of the jokes didn't land because you can't really clearly hear what some of the characters are saying. The other problem is, and I think this was a failure in my writing skills. Was the conceit was these are two male guys who are coming into an office, and the office is all women and they're guys, and they're kind of like caveman type guys, just assholes, jocks, in other words, the type. But they knew like if they cussed around all these women, they would get fired. So he would start to cuss, and at the very last second, he would replace the cuss word. Like, for instance, he would almost say fuck, and he would say fun filled with happiness instead. And at the time, I thought it was funny, but I don't think it really lands. I don't think people understand what the hell's going on. Like, conceptually, like a joke, people have to understand what is happening in the moment. We probably need a line of dialogue as they first came in where she warned them, and this is what I would do now, like if I was writing now. This very early in my career. If I was writing now, I would have her say a line, remember, if you guys cuss one more time, you're fired. Which would establish the expectation of the audience, and then everybody would get the joke. And I didn't do that, and I think that's a big fail into the writing. So we had a writing failure, and then we had an audio failure. Other than that, like, I still like it. And I think it's a huge accomplishment in the fact that we even got one take where everybody got their lines, everybody hit their marks. The camera guy hit the marks, the characters hit their marks, and everybody actually said the lines, even if we couldn't fucking completely hear the line. They did say the lines. So I'm proud of it, but obviously, I see the flaws. So let's go ahead and check it out. I'm going to need a stiff drink before we check this out. 20 years into my filmmaking career, I still get nervous showing my work to people. Like, that's something that's just never going to change. I don't give a shit about sitting here getting fucking pissed drunk, pissing all over stuff, which I haven't done. I'm just, go with me. I'm joking here. Making stupid jokes at fucking shows and movies. That ain't a problem. I'm never nervous when I'm uploading this shit. But it's when my actual filmmaking work, I get nervous every fucking time. Okay. Let's do this.
So how was your day last night? You go to that restaurant I suggested?
The actress in the middle there actually
awesome,
moved
but,
to LA and got a couple of
sucked.
pretty sweet guest spots on
Already?
TV shows out there.
I've been dating like a month, man.
Can I say I'm an overachiever? There's ever something really retarded too. She didn't like me referring to her as a lover.
I thought you two was just fun filled with happiness.
Yeah, see, we're supposed to get from
We
her
are.
glare what I was saying
Fun-filled
before,
with
but
happiness.
I don't think it lands. That's my
She got
opinion.
all bent out of shape because I referred to her as a lover.
It
She said it made her sound cheap.
Well, it is a cheap word. You can do better than that.
I'm not calling her my girlfriend. That's 8th grade crap.
Admire her?
If I'm stalking her, not dating her.
Hey, say what you want about stalkers. At least they highly motivated, committed, and up to date on the latest technologies.
Mine was a self-starter, that's for sure.
Are you saying I'm not a motivated person?
All I'm saying is you're 30 years old and you're still working a mailroom.
30? My stalker had his own coffee shop by the time he was 24. Of course, he did get into the business so that he could stay up all night stalking women.
I'm laughing at my own jokes. I'm a douchebag. What can I say?
What about Bo?
Yeah, if I want to sound like I'm older than the barge.
What about arm piece?
Why don't you just call it a penis attending pig?
I love the hostility with
Yeah,
her.
baby.
It's hilarious.
I meant is what to call her, you dumbass cum dumpster.
That was her improv, by the way.
Makes me sound like I'm older.
Every take, she called him a different insult.
about Flint?
I didn't write cum dumpster.
If I ever
Just
start
saying.
dating guys, I'll dig that one up.
What about enthusiasts?
And now we're back to self-motivated stocking donut shop owners.
Coffee shop.
I got inamorata.
Can't pronounce it. Not really sure what it means.
do you mean you can't pronounce it? I just said it. Inamorata.
The one thing I can remember is that time you taught me the Spanish word for cod piece supply right before the Cinco de Mayo party.
See, that one
that
lands
was
better, I think. I think fun filled
about
happens just
darling?
doesn't work. Like
Makes
maybe
me sound
that's
like a
what it
whip.
is.
Let's get on the same page.
That joke sucks.
Solicitor. That was big back in the day.
Am I selling encyclopedias?
Paramore.
If I start wearing pink panties, sure.
Idolizer?
Yeah, maybe if I have a threesome with Carrie Underwood and Kelly Clarkson.
Escort.
Only if I'm paying for it.
Supplicant.
I'm not a bottom.
Sweetheart.
Maybe 5 heartbreaks ago.
Mistress.
Only if I'm being tied up or having an affair.
Significant other.
That's been cooped.
Steady.
I'm a long way from high school.
Why don't you just call her supporter because she's going to be paying your bills soon if you don't get the hell out of my office and quit disrupting work.
I got it. Superior other.
I like it.
Yeah.
I bet she's gonna like it too.
She
I
brought
might even get laid again. I think I'm gonna have to call her that all the time.
all the time.
In public?
I don't know. I still like it. I mean, it has its flaws, a lot of flaws. But my favorite part's that run at the end when they just start shouting out stuff. We've set it up now. They're just shouting out. They don't, and he's rebutting all of them. I still like it. But let me know what you guys think. And also, I'm going to point out just a couple little mistakes. So let me fire up the screen recorder so that I can pause and move around. So one of the things you'll notice here is the actor Kyrian spikes the camera twice. And because he's not comfortable where he's not exactly sure where he's supposed to be looking. He's got the whole room at his disposal. There's an actor here. There's an actor over here. The camera's in the middle. And he just kind of uncomfortably, waiting for the next person to deliver their line. And so he just kind of looks over. And back then, I didn't have us rehearse this. We walked through it a couple times, but these days I would have rehearsed this about 6 or 8 times before we ever tried to do it. Ever. So, and later on, 6 years after this, when I did Into Goodbye, we did rehearse. We did a 6-minute long take. 80% of the short film I shot, Into Goodbye, was in one take. And we rehearsed the fuck out of it. Then we shot it 9 times again, and I think it was the 7th take again was when we actually nailed it. Because some of these takes, if there's a fuck up in the first 2 minutes, we just go back to 1. We're like, fuck it. Back to 1 means you go back to the very beginning of the scene. And so that's what I wish should have done here. And you just learn this shit. I had the same crew on Into Goodbye. The cameraman here was my DP for Into Goodbye. So I had the same crew with none of the same actors. So that would be my biggest advice in doing something like this. Make sure you have you do plenty of walkthroughs. Walkthroughs and rehearsals are 2 different things. A walkthrough is you're walking through, you're giving people direction every step of the way. A rehearsal is you run it through with the cameraman and the Sandman and the camera off many times. Now these days with digital film, you might as well be shooting it. Filmed rehearsals. Back in the day, we had cassettes, we didn't have as much, or even further back, before my time when they were using film, you wouldn't film it. But you might as well film it these days. You pretty much have infinite resources at this point, as far as that goes. But anyway, so just wanted to point this out where he does this. Yeah, see right there, you can see him do it. Waiting for a line. Okay, now I wanted to point this out here. This is the other issue. The cameraman he knows what the next line is. The next line comes from the person who's in charge of the office. So the cameraman starts to pan over before she starts talking. And in fact, I don't think she starts talking until the cameraman gets it. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, you see? So you need... there are other schools of thought to this. But I don't particularly like it because the camera is anticipating what's going to happen, so it makes it feel scripted. Because this is what the camera is supposed to represent. If you were standing in this office, say you were an intern, and you just happened to be standing in this spot, you were out there in the lobby when they were talking, you followed them in here, you're listening to the conversation, you're not going to turn around and look at somebody before they start talking. You're just not going to do it. So the camera kind of makes you feel like like you're a person in a room. Especially in a short thing like this, especially when it's all handheld and it's frenetic. Maybe you feel less so when there's different camera angles and they're cutting around and it's all locked cameras and dolly moves and stuff. But in this particular case, it feels like you're a fly on the wall. So you're not going to turn around and look until the person starts talking. And so what I would have them do these days is I would have her say something like like that, like to get everybody's attention. And of course, the camera's attention will be gotten to, and it'll pan over, and then she'll start talking. That's what I would do these days. And so that's my advice to you if you're ever going to do something, like if you're a young filmmaker or whatever, you're going to do something like a one-take kind of film. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Make sure the action drives the camera move, not the camera move driving the action. So those are the only two things I want to point out as far as like, beyond just a normal reaction. Yeah, let me know what you think. Like I said, it's early, it's rough. Filmmakers, we always have so many fucking excuses. And filmmakers are quick to point out the flaws in their own work because they can't stand somebody to point it out and make it somebody to think that they didn't notice it. Like, at least the ego maniacal ones will think nothing's wrong with any of their shit. So whatever. Just something I thought I'd share with you guys from the vault. So.